ऑन है क्या? हाँ, टेक्निकल रुकावट के लिए खेद है.
Can you hear me? All right, great. So good morning, everyone. I'm really proud to welcome Amish Tripathi on stage, and thank you all for coming this morning. I know we're all really excited about this session. Amish, last year, exactly at this venue, you had announced that you would be releasing The Scion of Ishkvaku, which is the first of your Ramchandra series. And I'm delighted to say that since then, your book has already grossed over 22 crores. So I think we should really give him a round of applause. Amish has really shown us numbers that are unprecedented. Of his 4 books, he's already sold more than 3.5 million copies, of which over 5 lakhs are in Indian languages. So congratulations again, because it's really thanks to you. Amish, I don't think he needs any introduction, and I know I just need to get out of the way and let him talk to everyone and all his fans that are present here. But we know that he has studied at IIM Calcutta. He's worked in the financial sector for over 14 years until he moved to becoming a writer. His 4 books, as we all know, the Immortals of Meluha, The Secret of the Nagas, The Oath of the Vayuputras, and his latest book, The Scion of Ishkvaku, as we know, have already sort of grossed more than 75 crores, I believe. And today we're actually here to talk. The title of our session is Kaljayee, which Amish will tell us more about. So I'm actually just going to move on to you, Amish, and ask you to describe to us why you chose Kaljayee, which also means immortals. So why you chose immortal figures like Shiva and Ram, and how you've really brought them to us, to the younger generation and the contemporary audiences.
Actually, I must admit the credit for the title Kaljayee should not go to me. I think it should go to Namita Gokhale, the director of the JLF. And I think it was a very creative thought. Because of course Kaljayee means immortal. That's one of the interpretations. But one very interesting thing that struck me when she sent the title of this, that Hindi में अगर आप कालजयी का अनुवाद करें, it can also translate into English as classic, as a classic book. तो अगर आप किसी किताब की बात कर रहे हैं जिसे आप कहते हैं कि भाई ये क्लासिक है, तो अगर हिंदी में आप कहेंगे तो आप उसको कालजयी कह सकते हैं. तो मतलब जिस किताब को समय भी ना मार सका वो है क्लासिक. और and I think it's a lovely thought, because the true judge of a book truly is time. And I am fascinated by works of art, by literature, by works that have survived in India for thousands of years, for millennia. And these are books, many of which aren't even taught in our education system. It's almost like there's a concerted attempt to ignore these books, but yet they stubbornly remain alive. And I'm not just talking about the various versions of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, but so many other stories. The immortal story of Shakuntala, for example, Kalidas's interpretation and the Mahabharata interpretation of it. There are so many ancient stories which are still around, and I think what fascinates me about them is obviously they still survive in India, even though it's not a part of our education system, because they serve some purpose. There's something that we Indians are drawing from these stories, which gives us a lot of meaning. That's why these stories remain alive. So I'm fascinated by them.
And the amazing thing that you've done in your latest book is that you've actually weaved in contemporary political issues into these immortal stories.
Yeah.
So how did you manage to make that sort of balance?
Okay, I don't comment publicly on politics ever. So actually it's one of the reasons I say no to 99% of the... Oh, I'm so sorry.
is a cue for everyone to put their phones on silent.
Sorry. It's written in the Vedas as well. Mobile phonam nishiddham. Sorry. Uh, look, I never comment on politics publicly, directly. It's one of the reasons I also say no to almost 99% of the TV panel, discussion invitations I get. The other reason is I'm not good at shouting and screaming, so that's one of the reasons I avoid. But at least I think that politics is something that at least if someone is commenting on religion, on society, on philosophy, ideally we should try and stay away from politics, because that's one of the reasons I like to stay away from commenting on politics publicly. Has the mic changed a bit? Okay. Sound's coming okay, right? Okay. But however, obviously I'm Indian, so like most Indians, political issues are issues that I think about a lot. There are things which trouble me. There are social issues which trouble me a great deal. So naturally, obviously, they get woven into my books. So I never support any political party, openly support or oppose any political party. I don't comment on politics directly, but issues that I feel strongly about get woven into my books. So for example, the issue of the caste system that exists today. The caste system that exists today is actually a disgusting corruption of what existed in ancient times. In ancient times, the caste system was not based on birth. It was based on your karma. In the Bhagavad Gita, it's Lord Krishna said very clearly, Chaturvarnyam Maya Shrushtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha, that he created the 4 varnas based on guna and karma, on your attributes and your acts, your deeds. He never mentioned Janma anywhere. He didn't mention birth anywhere. It is not based on birth. In ancient India, you would have many great rishis, many great Brahmins who weren't born Brahmins. So the Valmiki Ramayana, which is believed to be the original Ramayana, who was Maharishi Valmiki? He wasn't born a Brahmin. He was actually born a lower caste. And he became a Brahmin, not just a Brahmin, he became a Rishi based on his karma. The famous Satyakam Javali, Maharishi Satyakam Javali, who's written the Javali Upanishad, who was one of the officiating priests of Lord Ram, by the way, officiating priest of Ayodhya. So he was a very, very respected Maharishi. He was born to a single Shudra mother. He didn't even know who his father was. But that didn't matter, because his karma was so great that he became a rishi, and that's what our society was like in ancient India. Today what we have is actually a disgusting corruption. For me, I feel very strongly about this. It's one of the reasons I don't use my surname on the cover of my books as well. Those of you who are in North India, you know my surname is a caste surname, and I'm sure even Ilaji doesn't use her surname, for the same reason. Judge me as Amish, not as a Tripathi. So I feel strongly about these issues. So whatever issues I feel strongly about, they kind of get woven into my books.
And you have this very interesting concept of masculine and feminine societies. So I wanted you to talk about it and say what you think of our society today. So let's stay
Indian
away
society.
from political issues
Yeah.
in that sense, but
Comfortable
just
commenting on society. Obviously the masculine and feminine societies have nothing to do with men and women. There are many men who follow a feminine way of life. For example, Bill Clinton. There are many women who follow a masculine way of life. For example, Hillary Clinton. It has nothing to do with men and women. It's about a way of life, and perhaps the best way to describe what the Indian way of life is, what is our natural way of life, is to look at an example. I'm sure you guys are aware in China there was a Beijing Olympics, right? Recently, a few years ago. So it being China, obviously it was very well organized. The stadiums were ready a good 6 months before the games. So it wasn't like a Commonwealth Games in Delhi where I believe they were building the stadiums even as the games were going on. They're still painting things and all. But China being China, just the infrastructure being well organized wasn't good enough for them. So they decided to train all their volunteers, which is also fair enough. Train them in English, how to receive guests, etc., etc. But even that wasn't good enough for the Chinese government. They decided that the Beijing citizens also, I'm not joking, seriously, they decided that the Beijing citizens also had to be impressive for the foreigners who came. So they came out with a behavioral guideline for the Beijing citizens. Seriously, I'm not joking. It had things like what should be the length of a handshake. Seriously. It was advised a handshake should last for 3 seconds. Because anything less is not friendly enough, anything more is creepy. Okay, so 3 seconds. They had guidelines for what kind of clothes you could wear. Okay, so for some strange reason, you couldn't combine white socks with black shoes. Okay, I don't know why. I agree that's probably the fashion police may not like that, but okay, anyway. So what do you think the Beijing citizens did when the Chinese government came out with this guideline? What do you think they did? They followed the guideline. Boss ne bola hai, they'll follow it. What do you think would have happened if the Indian government had come out with a guideline like this? तुमने बोला सफेद मोजे और काले जूते नहीं पहनो, मैं 1 साल तक पहनूंगा, भाड़ में जाओ. Correct? That would be the Indian way. Because we, at our core, at least at the present point of time, we are followers of the feminine way of life. We are not, most of us. There may be few among us who follow the masculine way of life, but most of us are followers of the feminine way of life. What does that mean? We are by nature rebellious people. We are by nature we are by nature not really compliant people. You know, अपने को मजा आता है कि कानून तोड़ दिया, उसमें फायदा हुआ कि नहीं भगवान जाने, कानून तोड़ दिया. This is our way of life. Now there are weaknesses of this way of life, of course, but there are strengths as well. Followers of the feminine way of life are exceptionally creative, are exceptionally passionate, are exceptionally freedom loving. So what I would suggest is we should be what comes naturally to us. We shouldn't try to be like China. We are not like them. We are not the kind who will blindly follow what the boss tells us to do. Even when we say yes, we might actually do what we feel like doing. That's why we say this, right? Because you can't say whether it's a yes or a no. So this is our way of life, and we should be who we are. That's what I believe. We are more tending at this point of time towards the feminine way of life. So I agree, some of us could learn how to follow the rules, perhaps. That's one of the things we can learn from Lord Ram. Perhaps follow the rules a little bit, but we should be true to who we are. We are a rebellious, creative, passionate people. We should be rebellious, creative, passionate.
Thank you. So since you brought up the idea of Ram being the follower of rules, I think that's the one theme that's common, that's really strong in this book. And even last year you talked about how we see Ram as the Maryada Purushottam, which is not really the perfect man, but actually literally the follower of rules. So just tell us a little bit about your Ram and your interpretation of Ram in this series.
Look, you're right, see the, excuse me, sorry, I have a sore throat. The translation of Purushottam is perfect man. The translation of Maryada Purushottam is the perfect follower of laws. And that's what Lord Ram was. And the way to approach, in the Indic way, the way to approach our gods is to see them as role models. And we are supposed to learn from them. We are supposed to learn what are the benefits of their way of life and learn what are the challenges of their way of life as well. Like in ancient Sanskrit, for example, there is no translation for the English word blasphemy. The word didn't exist because the concept didn't exist. There was no question of not questioning anyone. You know, no one was beyond question, not even God. So the concept of blasphemy didn't exist, so the word didn't exist. So we are supposed to question and learn from our gods. That's the approach in the Indic way of life. So what can we learn from the ideal follower of laws? What are the strengths of that way of life? What are the weaknesses of that way of life? And that's what we are supposed to learn from Lord Ram. In summary, the strengths could be that the society becomes a lot more efficient. It becomes a lot more just if you tend to follow laws. The weaknesses can be that family life can suffer, because in families ideally you should have the rule of love, not the rule of law. And there are many leaders like Lord Ram who have been examples of ideal followers of law, like Gautam Buddha, for example, Mahatma Gandhi, for example. And you find many of these leaders have been fantastic for the societies that they lead, but all of them have faced challenges in their personal life. So we are supposed to learn from them that what does a way of life based on laws, what does it mean? And that's what I guess what I'm trying to get across in this book. And in a way, I think that if the society is such that there's no respect for laws, as to a large extent India is today, and to an extent even Lord Ram's society was in his time. So in that kind of society, someone who comes up and says we should follow the laws is actually a rebel. He's in a way a kind of rebel. He's a different kind of rebel because he's not breaking the laws, but a rebel is essentially someone who rebels against the dominant paradigm at that time. So Lord Ram was in a way a rebel.
And in fact, Sita is a very interesting character also in your book. For those who've read it will agree with me that she's really shown as a warrior.
I'm sure everyone has read it here, right?
I'm sure.
Anyone hasn't read Sign of Ikshvaku?
Please raise your hands. Honest
The books are available, huh? I think somewhere out there. Sita Ma is a warrior in my books, but I'm not the first one to show Sita Ma as a warrior. There's a version of the Ramayana, a very old version called the Adbhut Ramayana. Historians tell us it was probably 1,000 years old. I believe it was a lot older, because the Adbhut Ramayana is also credited to Valmiki ji. In that version of the Ramayana, there are two Ravans, a younger Ravan and an elder Ravan, and the powerful Ravan is the elder Ravan. Guess who kills Ravan in that version of the Adbhut Ramayana? Applause for her, whoever got the answer right. In that version of the Ramayana, Sita Ma kills Ravan when she takes a true form as Ma Kali. In that version of the Ramayana, there's a different take. Everyone has heard of that line, Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya, from the Mahabharata, everyone's heard of it. There's a different interpretation of that in the Adbhut Ramayana. Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya, Glanir Bhavati Suvrata, not Bharata, Suvrata. Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya, Glanir Bhavati Suvrata, Abhyutthanam Adharmasya, Tada Prakruti Sambhava. So it says that when adharma rises, or when dharma is in decline, the mother will incarnate. The mother goddess will incarnate. In the Mahabharata version, it's Lord Krishna will incarnate. This version also exists. So I'm actually following a very rich tradition.
So coming to your books in Indian language translations, your books have been translated into Hindi, Bengali, Odia, Marathi. I mean, there's a long list of 16 Indian and international languages. So I was wondering whether we'll ever see you write in Hindi. Do you think in Hindi? Do you think in English? What is your language?
I think most of us, like me, who come from, say those of us who come from underprivileged backgrounds, we tend to think in a khichdi language. Yeah. And so there's a mixture of English and Hindi. So I'm equally comfortable with both English and Hindi. I can easily speak in Hindi and English, and yeah, I might write in Hindi as well, God knows. But at this point of time in the publishing industry, sadly, English still sells more, and that's a weird thing about the publishing industry, because in every other media space, in TV, in newspapers, it's Indian languages which dominate. Of the top 10 newspapers in India, only one is in English. The rest are all in Indian languages. Of the TV channels in India, frankly, all English TV channels put together, their combined TRP is a minuscule percentage of just one Hindi news TV channel, of not just Hindi, Marathi, Tamil, Bengali, any of them. But in the publishing industry, for some strange reason, English tends to sell more. I had a belief that it's perhaps it's because we don't give enough marketing push, enough distribution push to books in Indian languages. So I had really got after my publisher, that we must give respect to Indian language editions as well. We do proper launches for it. We market it aggressively. I think my publisher is here somewhere. Gautam is. Okay. Someone from my publisher is here. Applause for these guys. Yeah.
And you've managed to break records even in Indian language.
Yeah, no, and I think, and it shows that there is a market. Yeah. That if we can figure out how to distribute and market Indian language editions properly, it can sell. And inshallah, I might write in Hindi too sometime. Why not?
I mean, even his Hindi novel is on the Nielsen's Bookscan bestseller list. Yeah. In fact, all of his novels are on almost every top 10 fiction bestseller list. So really, it's really a huge achievement. I wanted to, I mean, we'll move to the audience maybe after a wrap-up kind of discussion, and maybe we can talk a little bit about your experience writing about Shiva and Ram, and then with that sort of broad question, we'll then move on to the audience and allow you to ask as many questions.
No, I mean, it's wonderful. It was wonderful to have been blessed by Lord Shiva at first. Now it's wonderful to be blessed by Lord Ram as well. I'm a lucky guy. I don't know what I've done to deserve it, but I'm enjoying my life.
And when are we seeing your next book?
I
in this
started
series?
writing the second book of the Ramchandra series. This season there are too many lit fests, so you end up spending a lot of time traveling. Jaipur lit fest is one lit fest that you can't avoid. I know Sanjoy is there somewhere, so it's one of those lit fests that one has to attend. So I guess maybe this month things have slowed down a bit, but from next month onwards I'm writing full time. I'm cutting out everything else in life.
And are we also seeing a film soon?
Yeah, film is also under process. It's at the scripting stage, and hopefully a film worthy of Lord Shiva will come out soon.
Great. We're all very excited about this. I'm going to move to the audience and ask you to have an interaction with him.
Is it possible to get some warm water?
Can we please just keep it to questions? We
Thank you.
won't go on into long comments. And just identify yourselves before. Can we start with the man in the front?
Hello.
Hi.
I am Suresh Agarwal.
Nice,
So,
nice, Surejji.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Why do you think that females are rebellious? They have been the women have always been revered, respected, and they are the one who are जिनको जननी कहा जाता है.
Right.
And why do you consider them rebellious?
No, I didn't say that females were rebellious. I said masculine and feminine has actually nothing to do with men and women. They're just two different ways of life. Having said that, there are some females who are rebellious, and there are some females who are not. Just like there are some men who are rebellious, and there are some men who are not, who are compliant. And the main thing is to respect the right of everyone to follow the path that they want to. So of course we have Gauri Ma, but we have Kali Ma as well, right? And we worship and respect all of them. So that's the point I was trying to make. Okay.
Should we go on? There's a lady at the... Yeah.
Hey, maybe there should be a mic going to the
At the back,
backbenchers
yeah,
as
we'll
well.
go to the back after this.
I was a backbencher in my college days, so I always have some amount of sympathy. Backbenchers rule.
Right.
Right benchers too. Okay, right benchers too.
Hello,
Hi.
good morning.
Hi,
My name
morning.
is Shubhra.
Hi, Shubhra.
Listening to you, it's obvious that you've done a lot of research before writing. But could you kind of tell us how you go about researching Lord Shiva and Lord Ram?
I read a lot. So one way of seeing my research is I've been researching these. Arey baitho yaar. I've been researching these books for the last 30-35 years. I started reading when I was 5-6 years old. I read on average at least 4-5 books every month. And I've been reading at that pace for decades. So like even my son, who's just 6.5, he already reads 4-5 books every month. My wife reads a lot. In my family, everyone reads a lot. My siblings, my parents. It's just the culture. So when you read a lot, obviously that knowledge goes in somewhere in the back of the mind. The second thing is just good fortune of birth. I was born into a deeply religious family. My grandfather was a pandit in Kashi, in Banaras. He was also a teacher at Banaras Hindu University. And both my parents are deeply religious. So I learnt a lot from the family as well. So good fortune of birth and a lot of reading. And most of the books on many of our ancient texts, not just scriptural and philosophical texts, but scientific texts, mathematical texts, these are all available, and they are available for free on Google. You just have to Google it and read it. They are all available. My grandfather had done a master's in Sanskrit. Both my parents know Sanskrit well, but sadly felicity in Sanskrit has been coming down a bit as some of us got more career focused. So I might know Sanskrit, but certainly not as well as my parents or my grandfather did. So often I check things with them. But I primarily read in English and Hindi.
Thank you. Let's go to the backbenchers.
Okay,
There's-
where was the mic?
Right there.
Okay.
Hi?
Yeah, I'm from your campus. I'm Calcutta.
I'm Calcutta.
Yeah.
Arey, Joka rocks.
I wanted to know what made you decide to take the risk of giving it a good corporate life that you would have after I'm Calcutta and get into a creative pursuit such as this.
Look, boss, I'm a banker, so I'm basically a risk-averse guy. So I'd love to give a romantic answer that I kicked my boss, and told him, "Bhaad mein ja, मैं किताब लिखने जा रहा हूँ." But no, it wasn't like that. I resigned only after my second book, when my royalty check became more than my salary check. I resigned only at that time. Look, I come from a humble family, so I can't afford to be irresponsible with my career choices. And even when I left, I was actually very pragmatic because at that time when I resigned from my job, I was a member of the senior management committee. I reported to the CEO, so I was not just responsible for projects in my department, but also involved in projects of other departments as well. So I gave him a long 5-6 month notice period. I finished all my projects. I actually identified, hired my replacement. I trained him. I left on very good terms with my boss. He actually threw a farewell party for me. Gave me a lovely, large idol of Lord Shiva. And of course, at the party, I told him, "Sir ji, अगली किताब flop हो जाए तो मैं वापस आ जाऊँगा."
There's one hand right here, at the back.
Hi, my name is Anuradha.
Where are you?
Here.
Okay, sorry.
So, just want to know, in a culture which was rebellious, who made the rules and how are they made? Because that's a constant challenge. Somebody's got to make new rules, and the people who are supposed to make them are usually benefiting from the current set. So, how did we manage this as a culture? Because we made great progress.
Very good question. What do you do, Anuradha?
I am in management. I'm a marketeer.
Oh, okay. Wow, very deeply philosophical question for a marketer. I'm impressed.
I lose sleep over issues
Okay,
that face
wonderful.
us as a
Okay.
society and as a civilization of humans.
Okay, wonderful.
Thanks.
Okay, in Indian scriptures can be divided, and there are various divisions, but one set of broad divisions that one can look at is Shruti and Smriti. Okay, Shruti literally translates as that which has been heard. These are texts which are supposed to be, at least it is believed, of divine origin. That rishis heard these from the divine spirit, itself. So the Vedas, for example, they're Shruti, which is why one of the perspectives of the way to look at rishis and rishikas, they were women rishis as well in ancient times, is to see them as sort of, not exactly, but sort of the equivalents of the prophets and messiahs of the Abrahamic faiths like Christianity, Islam, etc. There's another group of scriptures called the Smritis. Okay, these are supposed to be law books. Okay, which is the Smriti that all of you guys have heard of? Manu Smriti? Anyone's heard of any other Smriti? She's okay. So Smritis are essentially law books. Why is it that Manu Smriti? By the way, Manu Smriti is not the only Smriti. There are many. Some of them are very conservative. Some of them are sort of in the center. Some of them are very liberal. They are so liberal that they may even shock the Americans today. Okay, they certainly shocked the British in the colonial era. Why did the Manu Smriti become, apparently, at least for modern Indians, apparently the only Smriti that exists? A lot of it was an impact of colonial rule, because that happened to be the Smriti that the British translated and printed and popularized. Because many of the laws in that Smriti tended to appeal to the Victorian conservative values that the British colonialists had. So there are many Smritis. Okay, Manu Smriti is just one. There are many, Bruhad Manu Smriti, many other Smritis. There's a Yagnivalkya Smriti, Vyasa Smriti, many, Narada Smriti, many of them. Now the tradition in ancient India was that each age was supposed to create its own Smriti. And it was up to people as to which Smriti they wanted to follow. So there was no law book that this is the law of God and you dare not question it. it wasn't, that approach never existed in ancient India. So essentially, actually, the people, the communities, the villages, they decided through tradition, and traditions could change, which Smriti they would follow. And the tradition was that each age is supposed to create its own Smriti. You're not supposed to blindly follow something that was decided hundreds or thousands of years ago. So, for example, the Manu Smriti, if a man cheats on his wife, the Manu Smriti classifies it as a very serious crime, and the punishment is the death penalty. Okay, no, seriously. But that's not a law that we follow today. So the tradition was that we are supposed to come up with our own Smriti in every age. And modern India, we have come up with our own Smriti, right? It's called the Indian Constitution.
Let's go to this side.
Hello, sir. My name is Darshan. Yeah.
Okay.
A big fan, sir. Two
Hi.
quick questions. First question was something you promised us in the first book itself, in the introductory note, that Lord Shiva will be telling the story of the great Mahabharata. So when can we expect that? That's one. And secondly, sir, in the first trilogy that you wrote, there was this lot of emphasis on the social issues prevalent today. That came in naturally. While in the Scion of Ikshvaku, I think a lot of people say that, because of the success of the first three books, you had to have more emphasis on the contemporary social issues. So do you think that was kind of more of the pressure of the success of the first three books, that you had to have more of the connection with the prevalent social issues, or it just came along naturally?
Okay, good question. I will write the Mahabharata series also sometime. In fact, I have a 20-25 year plan out for books that I will write. And clues for all the books that I will write over the next 20-25 years are actually there in the Shiva trilogy. So, so the Ramchand series, those of you who've read the Scion of Ikshvaku, you can actually go back to the Shiva trilogy. You will find that there connects between clues I've left out there and in the Scion of Ikshvaku. So even stuff like the description of the Vishnu temple at Ujjain in the Oath of the Vayuputras is a clue for something that will happen in the second book of the Ramchand series. So there are many connections like this, and not just the Ramchand series, the Mahabharata series that I might write 7-8 years later. When you read that, you can come back to the Shiva trilogy and the Ramchand series. You will find clues for the Mahabharata series. The story of Lord Rudra and Lady Mohini that I might write 12-13 years later, you can come back to the Shiva trilogy. I have left clues there. The story of, say, Lord Parshuram 15-16 years later, you can come back to the Shiva trilogy. I have left clues there. I might write a story on Lord Brahma, on Lord Manu, maybe 20-22 years later, come back to the Shiva trilogy, there are clues there. They're all actually linked to each other. All my books that I will write over the next 20-25 years, at least the core mythology-focused books, all of them tell the tale of this race of people, the Vedic people of our age, from the creation of their culture more than 12,000 years ago, before the end of the last great ice age, to the destruction of their culture 3,500 years ago. I believe we are their unworthy descendants. So over this 9,000 year period, this great race of people, their high points and their low points, all my books will actually track this. They're all linked to each other. And I'll write all of them, hopefully, God willing. The second question, there are social issues that I feel strongly about. So that have come into the Shiva trilogy. They do come into the Scion of, they have come into the Scion of Ikshvaku and Ramchand series as well. I try my best to make sure that it comes in along with the story itself. If there are improvements I can make, I'll certainly attempt that. Thank you.
Let's go to this side now. We have
Whoever has the mic, some right side as well.
Yeah, the right
And the leftists as well. We can't be anti-leftist.
Should we just...
We can't be anti-rightist either. We are centrists. Whoever has the mic.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Okay, now we're here, all of us, we know that there are a lot of books written on all of religious types, all lords. What is so special that we all are here, a big fan of yours? What is so special about your books that makes us read it like we cannot stop any point. We even avoid our sleeps to read your books.
Very well.
Like I'm here reading the fourth book, like the Scion of Ishwaku. The first three books I completed one book in 3 hours.
Wow.
Trust me, I'm a huge fan, but what's so special about your book that's not there in any other religious book, not even in the small fables that are so interesting, but your books, what is so special?
Okay, firstly, how old are you? Yeah? 14.
14.
Yeah, applause for him, man. Your parents must be damn proud. What's special in my books? Dude, I don't know, yeah. I genuinely believe that my books are the blessings of Lord Shiva. Even today, I still can't explain where the stories come from. I didn't know fiction before the Immortals of Melu. Absolutely nothing. Zip. Not even a short story in school. But I open the laptop and there's this parallel universe which I can actually see. I actually feel the emotions and I just describe what I see. So I think the credit should go to Lord Shiva. I'm just a channel.
I think we'll just. Thanks.
Thanks. Okay, whoever.
We'll do one here and then we'll go to the back.
Good morning to you. My question is related to the Shiva's trilogy.
Ji.
Now, as you go through the 3 books, what I personally feel is that sometime in the middle section of the book, there is a correlation between the present day world order that was existing in 90s also and the early part of this century. Was it inbuilt or it just came like that?
You're right, I'm glad you caught on to that. There are, like I said earlier, there are some issues which trouble me. And, in the Indian way, there's always this understanding that perfection can only happen at, on the other side of Pralay for that one moment. During this cycle between creation and destruction, ways of life will keep interchanging. So one group will be powerful now, but they may become powerless later, and another group will become powerful. This is the way life will keep on going. The society keeps swinging. So there are some thoughts which I had on this, which is what I tried to communicate in the books. Because what tends to happen because of the modern Western paradigm, we tend to get judgmental. We tend to judge other ways of life, which, often the worst crimes have been done by those who think they are creating a perfect world. Pol Pot, for example, actually thought he'll create a perfect world in Cambodia. He killed 1 million people, some nearly 10% of Cambodia's population. Mao, he thought Marxism would create this heaven for China. He killed 20 million people. Stalin, Churchill, he loved his empire, and for that he killed 4 million Indians. Often, this attitude that I will create this perfect world and I am a noble soul and the others need to follow me, in this moral arrogance, often worse crimes are carried out. The worst crimes in the world are carried out in this. So the only thing is we should be wary of those who have moral arrogance, who think, and there are a lot of Westerners who come to India, and tell us our way of life is superior, you listen to, my attitude, and, we should be wary of such people. If someone comes in and politely debates, that's fair enough, we are open to debate, but someone who comes in with a judgmental attitude, we should be very wary of such people. The worst crimes are almost always out of this attitude. Like that.
Hello Amish,
Hi.
I am Rishabh Jha from IIT Roorkee.
Hi, Rishabh.
And I'm actively thinking about dropping out of college to write,
Okay.
inspired by you.
By the way, my father studied in Roorkee, and I won't suggest dropping out of college. But anyway, go ahead.
All right. My question to you is this. Please don't give a diplomatic answer to this. But in your books, you've hinted at the fact that the concept of the ekam that the asuras had, like Shukracharya brought to them, you must realize that it is very similar to all the Abrahamic religions. Also, you yourself have said in the Shiva trilogy the fact that Parsis could actually be the descendants of the asuras. Do you honestly believe that these other religions could be descended directly from the Hindu philosophy? Second question is, in your books you have actually given dates for when you think the incidents with Shiva and Ram happened. Question is, how did you come up with the dates, and when do you think the Mahabharat war happened? 2 questions.
Okay, good questions. In the study of history, one of the problems in India is the study is stuck between 2 groups of extremists on either end. There's one group of extremists which likes to believe that India was never a country, we didn't have that much greatness before the great British came and civilized us. There's another extremist group which believes we were the only great country, you know, and everyone else were a bunch of barbarians and they learned from us. And the truth is obviously somewhere in the middle. We were a great country, other countries were great as well. So was there an impact of the Indic way of life in foreign countries? Certainly there was. Was there an impact of the foreign way of life in India? Yes, there certainly was. You know, the first concept of virgin birth, for example, was of Prophet Zarathustra, the Zoroastrian prophet, actually, you know, many, many thousands of years ago. The concept of, you know, we probably had nature worship and idol worship. But the modern agamas, at least, that lays out the structure of the Garbhagriha, this possibly, there are some historians and, you know, centrist, you know, moderate historians who claim this may have come from the Greek approach. Okay, so we learn things from others, they learn things from us too, because we were a great culture. We weren't a bunch of barbarians waiting for the British to come and civilize us. So the truth is somewhere in the middle. We taught others, we learned from them as well. And one of the books I'd strongly recommend that you read is this book by this guy called Sanjeev Sanyal called The Indian Renaissance. And he describes through textual research and various other research of what the attitude of ancient India was like. Ancient India was like the America of the ancient world. Okay? Anyone who was smart could come to India and become Indian. So we accepted immigrants from almost anywhere. And our culture actually impacted many others as well. All of Southeast Asia, for example, we didn't send armies to conquer them, but many of them actually just accepted our culture, because it was just like today it's cool to, you know, to be Americanized, you know, change your name from Samir to Sam. You know, those days it was considered cool to be Indianized. You know, so many Central Asians, many Southeast Asians, many West Asians learned Indic cultures, and we learned from them as well. So the truth is somewhere in the middle, and our natural way is to actually go back to that approach, that we should be open, confident, but we should be rooted in our own land. Because and America cannot succeed if they don't have some roots in their own land as well, some pride in their own culture as well. Openness and liberalism cannot mean that you keep on deriding your own culture, that you lose your sense of pride. Okay? So you have to be open to other cultures, but first with a sense of deep, immense pride and quiet confidence in your own culture. Mahatma Gandhi had said it perfectly. Let all the doors of windows of the house be open, let all foreign winds come into my house, but I refuse to be shaken from my own roots. And if I may, just a suggestion for you, I am no one to give advice. Just consider completing your college. It's always good to have a backup. I'm just suggesting that. Okay.
Should we go this side as well?
Writing is a risky career. Okay.
Hi, Amish.
Yeah, there. there.
Okay.
Har Har Mahadev.
Har Har Mahadev.
Okay. The previous question about the dates.
Yeah.
And you must be remembering this thing, Namami Shamishan Nirvan Rupam Vibhum Vyakapam. So this is Lord Ram who was saying for Lord Shiva. Okay. So the last book is a prequel to the series, right?
Right.
And you must remember the avatar Kurm.
Yes.
So that happened, that's how, you know, Samudra Manthan happened.
Right.
Became. That happened in Satyug.
Right.
Ram came in Treta Yuga.
You're right.
Lord Ram came in Treta Yuga. So, first of all, how you planning it as a prequel?
Sure.
Secondly, like what after this? You like for another 15, 20 years, you're gonna write about all the lords and, you know, tell them, you know, tell us the teachings they wanted to give. Don't you think like all the sayings have changed according to the Yuga, especially like when you talk about Treta's Ram, he had that dharma as the Bhrata dharma and everything, and this and the one following everything. And then when you come to Dwapar, you come to Krishna.
Sure.
And then he was actually killing all the dharma, like especially the biggest was Yudh dharma. And he went over it and, you know, did kill Karn for an example without this. So don't you think there'll be a big clash and how you gonna, manage with everything, and especially with the dates. Like how a prequel for Lord Shiva, like Lord Shiva Satyug, and then you
Look, as far as you're right, what's written in the Bhagavad Puran, what's what you've actually gone through is broadly there in the Puranic texts. The problem though often is that many of the descriptions of the dates in different Puranas actually tend to contradict each other. Like for example, we all know that Lord Ram worshipped Lord Shiva in Rameshwaram. We know that. And there can be some dispute on did he worship Lord Shiva before going to Lanka or after coming back from Lanka. But he did worship Lord Shiva at Rameshwaram. And it's also described that he worshipped Lord Shiva and Parvati Ma, Lady Parvati as well. However, there is another text in other Puranas which says that Lord Shiva and Sati Ma, it's very specific, Sati Ma, not Parvati Ma, came out from Agastya Muni's ashram. Right. And they ran into Lord Ram at that time, who was searching for Lady Sita, which means Lady Sita had already been kidnapped. Now this becomes a contradiction, because we all know that Dashanan, who became Ravan, came to worship Lord Shiva only after Sati Ma had already died, right? And he became Ravan only post that. Now these two become a contradiction. This is just one. There are many like this. Now, how does one reconcile this? One of the thoughts that occurred to me, is it that that there were many Mahadevs and there were many Vishnus, and what we are seeing as prequel and sequel are essentially different Mahadevs. So the Mahadev that Lord Ram worshipped was Lord Rudra, and Lord Shiva came after Lord Ram. Now this is an interpretation. Is there any justification for a interpretation like this? You've read the Rig Veda, I assume. So there's the hymn of Keshan, you must remember that. Now if you see the hymn of Keshan, the description of Keshan is the long haired one, right? The description of Keshan, you ask any Shiva worshipper who's being described, they'll say Lord Shiva is being described. Okay? Because his fame exists from the western sea to the eastern sea. When he walks, everyone follows. He is sky clad, which means he's not wearing any clothes. Charismatic dancer, and you'll say Lord Shiva is being described. Interestingly, at the end of that hymn is, and Keshan sat and drank poison. That we also know is a description of Lord Shiva. Keshan sat and drank poison with Rudra. Okay, so could it be that Lord Rudra and Lord Shiva were two different Mahadevs? Now, this is an interpretation that I have drawn. Can I say it's the truth? Only Lord Shiva knows the truth. This is my interpretation to reconcile some of these contradictions. The dates on why I picked them. Look, the Shiva trilogy was closely linked to the drying up of the Saraswati river. Many modern historians, based on satellite imagery, based on various other research, have actually mapped what the Saraswati river would have probably been like. And many modern historians, hydrologists, etc., they have this theory that the Saraswati river probably dried up completely between 1850 to 1900 BCE. A big part of my story is the Saraswati river drying up. So which is why the story got placed in 1900 BCE. Okay, and then other stories kind of got placed around this. Okay.
We'll take two more questions. Let's go to this side and then come back.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, buddy.
Hello, this is Jay Agrawal.
Hi.
Well,
Hi, Jay.
being a writer myself, I have a small question, rather a universal one. Well, how should a writer react when people find obscenity in his writings or whatever, something he speaks of? Well, like anyone speaks on political issues or anyone writes on political issues, or maybe someone picks you like you are deportering Lord Rama or Lord Shiva. So how should a writer react to that in such conditions?
Okay, see, the first thing is we're a free country. Okay, so if you have a right to write, and someone else has the right to not like what you write, and if they choose to write against it or even protest about it peacefully, no one has a right to violence. But even their right to dislike your work is covered under freedom of expression. We can't question that right, because then we are suppressing their freedom of expression. So, and in India there's been a tradition of Shastrat, that we have open debates about everything. So there's nothing wrong with that. Now, as far as a reaction of a writer is concerned, look, my approach is there'll always be critics. There was a time when critics actually impacted your life drastically as a writer, because before the age of social media, what a critic wrote in a newspaper would actually deeply impact your book, because many people would make up their minds after reading that review. But in today's day, frankly, critics do not have that much power. Most newspapers have actually done away with review pages. Most of us who read a lot, I'm sure if you come to JLF, I'm sure all of you read a lot. Most of us who read a lot actually don't take book recommendations from from reviews of critics. We tend to take book recommendations from our friends and family, because now our friends and family through social media, we hear from all of them and they know our tastes. They know what like I tend to read more non-fiction. Only 10-15% of my reading is fiction. Most of it is non-fiction, subjects of history, spirituality, mythology, science. I really love science, especially theoretical physics, politics, economics. I tend to read these kind of subjects. My sister, my wife, they also tend to read these kind of subjects, so they have different tastes as well. So I take their recommendations a lot more seriously. And this is the way it is for most readers today. So actually, a critic today does not have an impact on your book or your life. So I always suggest to writers that then don't get emotional about what a critic says, because actually it's not having an impact on your life. In fact, see it as an opportunity, because here is a guy who's been paid to pick holes in your book. Okay, so if you read a review with an open mind, you might actually learn something, and this is a good idea, this is good feedback, maybe I should try and implement it for my next book. And if there's some feedback that doesn't make sense to you, then ignore it, so that's the way I would suggest. So approach any critical reviews as an opportunity to learn something, and you don't have to get swayed by them. You're the writer, so you do what feels right to you. So if you disagree with a review, then say, okay, thank you, but I'm doing what I want to do. Okay.
Last question, and then we'll end with a short video clip.
Whoever has the mic.
Let's go to some of the people standing on this side.
You can throw the mic.
Should we?
Hello.
There's a little boy with a question here.
Whoever. Oh, this is.
Hello, Amish.
There's one little boy with a mic.
Hey, wow. Okay, no. That. How old are you, man?
I'm 13.
13. Applause. Yeah, tell me, beta.
Hello, Amish. I'm Siddharth Paliwal.
Hi, Siddharth.
I don't know much philosophical stuff like questions, but I just wanted to ask that what will be the name of your next book?
I wish I could tell you, but I haven't announced it at this time. So Siddharth, I'll tell you what. Once this program is over now, you come and meet me and I'll whisper the name in your ear. Okay? But you have to promise me that you can't tell anyone else, okay? Okay.
Where?
Come to the author lounge back there. Can Siddharth be allowed into the author lounge to meet me? Yeah? Okay. So I'm just going to finish signing. When I finish signing, come in out there. Okay? Okay. Okay, Siddharth. Siddharth, is someone see him? Siddharth, the young kid out there. Yeah? Okay. Oh, I'll tell you what. Come here. I'll tell you once the program is over. Come. Aage aao. Okay.
I'm afraid we'll have to wrap up the discussion here.